According to Philip Hammond, my job is so easy that even a woman could do it. But despite the Chancellor's sexist remarks, I feel really fortunate to be part of such a unionised industry where I feel relatively safe and where I have parity with my male colleagues. There is no gender pay gap in train driving. I'm a single parent and typically one of the group most affected by austerity cuts. What if my job paid so little that the slightest increase in the cost of living put me below the breadline? Where a benefit cut too far sent me spiralling into debt? Where I have to make the choice between paying the bills or feeding my child? There is no doubt that there is a link between poverty and women turning to prostitution. In 2014 in Doncaster, there was a 60% increase of women turning to sex work to make ends meet. Nearly 3/4 of the sex workers in this country are mothers, women who under current UK law put themselves in harm's way to feed their family. At the moment, it isn't illegal to either buy or sell sex. What is illegal is the activities surrounding the act: pimping, brothel keeping, curb crawling, etc. The law effectively pushes sex workers to work alone. 2 women working from a flat for safety would be classed as running a brothel, hence they can be arrested. Once a woman is convicted of prostitution, escaping sex work proves difficult, as many employers wouldn't even consider her as a suitable employee. Sex workers suffer extreme forms of violence, including rape and murder, but current legislation makes criminals of these women. Consequently, these crimes go unreported because of the fear of arrest, fear of having their children taken into care, fear of never being able to leave prostitution behind. Pointed to sex workers as blights on our landscape, as the most abhorrent thing a girl could ever be mistaken for, sketches the backdrop for how the murder of a woman who also happens to be a prostitute will be reported. When the Yorkshire Ripper was at large, the first 4 women he killed were prostitutes. And although these deaths were reported, the media only really sat up and took notice when a good girl was killed. This is a sad indictment of the police, the media, and the public perception that these women somehow deserve their fate. This attitude was clear to see once innocent women were at risk. Why is a so-called decent girl's life more valuable than a sex worker's, who, by the way, is a decent person? How can rape and murder just be seen as an occupational hazard? In New Zealand, it's not against the law to work as a sex worker or operate a brothel, nor is it against the law to pay for sexual services. Sex workers are allowed to advertise in classified sections of newspapers and online. The laws pertaining to sex work are the same as those for any other workplace in the country. They have the same rights as workers in any other occupation. Police relationships are focused on protecting sex workers from exploitation. The workers feel more able to reach out for help. The police no longer have a role where they are bound to enforce laws against them. The police also value the change in the relationship dynamic. They are no longer charged with collecting the names of sex workers and registering them on a database, and can work with these women to solve crimes such as violence against them. Sex workers feel more able to contact the police, either to prevent violence being committed against them or to report it. Because paying for sexual services is not against the law, clients can also alert authorities to situations which appear to be illegal. Decriminalisation has created high expectations of workplace safety and a culture of whistleblowers. Clients, sex workers and brothel operators are more able to report problems to officials without legal backlash. Exploitation can be addressed. In 2014, a sex worker successfully brought a sexual harassment case against a brothel operator and was compensated with 25,000 New Zealand dollars. Full decriminalisation is advocated by many national organisations, which Claire mentioned earlier, alongside The Lancet and The Economist magazine. Human trafficking and organised crime are often cited as reasons not to decriminalise sex work, but these crimes are covered by other legislation and would remain a crime. Grooming children would remain a crime. Rape, sexual assault and murder would remain a crime. How can we expect the police, the media and the sex workers' clients to treat these people with anything remotely approaching respect when organisations whose sole aim is to protect workers turn their backs? How can women who may want to leave sex work behind and go into more socially acceptable employment ever do so when they have criminal records hanging over them? They are stuck in a sort of catch-22 situation with very little chance of escape. I hazard a guess that not many women in this room would choose to be a sex worker. There are many reasons why women become working girls. Some by economic necessity, some are criminally coerced, some just choose to do it. Whichever way, don't these women deserve to be as safe as possible? To not have to work alone, to have help to leave the industry when they want to and without criminal convictions hanging over them, to be able to report crimes against them or that they have witnessed without fear of any of them being arrested or to be treated as valuable members of society. I personally believe that we will never eradicate sex work. Therefore, we must protect the workers and afford them the same rights that every other working person has in this country. Of course, if we look at the root cause of the increase in sex work, the blame lies firmly at the feet of the government. Forcing families into poverty and women onto the streets whilst allowing multinational corporations to forego paying the tax, which would bring millions into the country, is despicable and cowardly. Perhaps Mr. Hammond should get his own house in order before deriding my job.